Hey everyone, welcome to Handing the Shame Back, a show dedicated 100% to the amazing survivors of child sexual abuse here in Aotearoa and out across the world. Shows like this are needed because we need survivors to feel they have a safe place to come and share their stories, but equally to learn from other survivors. And we all know that one thing someone could say could make a big difference. So I'm very honoured to bring this to you. We have a very special guest tonight, but just before I bring him on, I'd like to issue a trigger warning. We are talking child sexual abuse. I don't want you feeling upset and anxious, so please stop watching, go to the show notes below and you'll be directed to some resource and support. And here he is, the amazing Uipo Tagaloasa. He is from the Bay of Plenty in New Zealand, which is in the North Island, beautiful part of the country. He's an entrepreneur, he's a survivor, his grand's from Samoa, and he does a lot of work in this space, which I'm going to make him tell you all about in part 2. Welcome to the show, Uipo.
Thank you. It's really honoured to actually be here. Thank you for having the opportunity to share, and hopefully that that we can help or giving the inspiring or inspiration to other survivors to actually find their healing and seek help.
I love that you said that, because that is exactly what we're about. And I think, even just talking to you off air, I can see that you will be very inspiring. So thank you. Uipo, what we do is, as we always start at the beginning. So just as much or as little as you're confident to tell us about, what is your story, please, of child sexual abuse?
Thank you. I just thought to introduce a little bit of myself. I was born and raised in Samoa. I grew up without a dad, so my dad passed away before I was born. Same year, different month. Dad passed away in March. I was born in October 1980. So I never had a dad in my life. Mom moved on and had other relationships. So there's 11. I've got 11 other siblings, 4 different families. So different dad, but same mum. And we all love each other and still connected with each other. Unfortunately, one actually passed away when he was a baby. I was brought up by my grandparents, mum and dad. We had a beautiful house, we had a beautiful home. I felt really loved by them. They showed me a lot of love and a lot of my values now. I got it from them. They were very spiritual, born and raised in the church, in Samoa. I think the challenge then, I never really connect. Yes, I was practicing in the church, but I didn't really understand at that time. So I think I'm probably, I can't really remember how old I was until I actually find out my dad is actually from the same village where my mum is from.
Mm-hmm.
But from then, I was excited to actually get to know my dad's family. In terms of abuse, it happened where I was staying, with my grandparents. As I said, back in Samoa, we had people trust each other. We get into families, And I don't want to go into full detail of the guy that actually done it to me. It wasn't a family member. It was a close, really close person, and I think it was trust in the family to actually come in our house. Was helping out with a lot of things around our family as well.
Yeah.
And it was an interesting thing that, you know, I ended up playing rugby with with this person, and back in the islands. And I've heard that, I've seen it here too. Like, you know, I was almost like it was normal that, you know, because there was nobody talk about it, or I was also worried about telling anybody, you know, that they may not believe me, even my own grandparents, that I knew that they loved me, um, and it was a bit of a fear as well. Um, yeah, untrust, and also I had a lot of respect for this guy as well. You know, there was a bit of a I can't find the right words now, but you know, I think I was 9 when the abuse started. You know, there was I realized now, if I look back now, there was a lot of grooming during that time when I was young.
Yeah.
You know, things like, you know, I can give you this, and, you know, can make me feel better, make me feel important. And it was, oh, you know, if I think about it now, you know, it's really, really sad, but, you know, at the time I didn't know any better,
No.
you know.
Well,
And
and just to just give pause for a second. Hello, lovely survivors watching. As you can see, what Uipo talks about in terms of the grooming, and in terms of the fear of not being believed, and also the fact that, you know, no one talked about anything like that. So all of those things, as we know, when you're a child, you are completely powerless.
yeah,
And adults today still tend to believe other adults. So
yeah,
understand what you're saying, Weepo. Sorry, I just wanted to make that point because the audience will be able to really relate to this. Uh,
yeah,
mm,
yeah, yeah. No, it definitely is. And it went on for a little while. You know, we slept together at the, you know, one of, you know, in Samoa we had an open fallas. We have a beautiful home that would my grandparents were living, but at the back of the house we had this open valley, you know. And you know, when boys sleep together, we don't really think about things like this, you know, sexual abuse, you know. um, but this guy done it, you know. He know um, the time. um, it's If I think about now, like, you know, it's really interesting how, you know, how he used his power, how he used the time that I need, you know, love, because mum moved on and had another relationship. And you know, I was had other cousins that were staying with my grandparents, and my aunties were stay there with her partner and her kids as well. So it was so much going on that it was this person that was the only person that I could, you know, you know, it was almost like unsee, like. But I think it was one of the reason why I actually run away from my mum's family, and connect with my dad's family. You know, in even though it was in the same village, it was, so my mum's family is in the kind of like ocean side of the village, but my dad's family is like in what is it called, kind of in the mountain side of it. So it was quite far apart, but I can still walking distance. So I moved there for a little while, and the
How old were
abuse
you
started.
when you moved?
Uh, to be honest, like I can't remember, and I think it was still around 9 years old. So I think it was probably around 13,
Yeah.
12, 12, 15. But I go to my dad and then I move back because my grandparents, it was, they were still my idol.
Of course.
I still come back to them, but they never knew what is actually going on. Um, but as I say, I didn't grow up, playing. I always wanted to play rugby, and I think it was about 19. I ended up playing rugby with the same person, and I look up to him, you know, and from there everything is kind of um, suppressed. Like there was nothing, in, nothing happened, you know. So that's when it stopped.
So you had remembered all of the abuse, but
Oh,
you'd remembered it all or you'd blocked it all?
it was interesting. Like during that time of my rugby career, I blocked it all out.
Yes. Yeah.
And I didn't know that until I went back when I went through my own journey. So what happened is me and my wife had foster boys in our care but those boys, so those boys, one of them was 7 and one of them was 9. So those boys bring a lot of memories of what happened to me.
Yes.
And I think I was 27, 28, and those memories I start memorize, and like it was like it's just happened.
Yeah.
So I remember all of everything that he done to me.
Now, isn't it interesting, and it's another really useful point for our audience too, that the age you were when the abuse began, when you have a child, whether it's your own or a foster son, something about that seems to just trigger in our heads and the
Yeah,
memories come flooding. But equally, you were ready to deal with it because prior to that, you weren't. And how do I know that? Because you hadn't remembered. So,
yeah, yeah. So
yeah,
so so that's where putting certain in was even worse when me and my wife have our first girl. So our older girl is now 10.
yeah,
When we had, I think it was 2017. 2017, our girl was 3 years old, so she was born in 2013,
yeah,
and that's when I start really, really, I got really struggle. I was really struggling, remembering all that. I didn't know where to, um, how to deal with, who to tell, what I need to do. Um, my only I think, but I have a lot of impact. I have a massive impact into our relationship, me and my wife.
yeah,
As I mentioned it before,
yeah,
part of me, living here. So I moved. Sorry, if I go back, I moved here in 2003. I was 23 years old when I moved here. I was also overstayed here for 5 years, and I asked my wife now, that I need some help. So she helped me to stay to come, to stay in the country. But I went back to Samoa in 2007 to do my paper. Was part of the immigration. I had to go back home. Part of me going back home, I didn't like, even during that time, I didn't really remember much. And I think I now remember when my wife came back, or when now my wife, she came over to visit me when I was there, 2008. This guy came around and remember asked me, and I say, "Is that your girlfriend?" I say, "Yes, that's my girlfriend." And I felt the anger that was and built up in me during that time back in 2008. And I could never understand at that time, and I felt really like, and say, "Ooh, this is something different here." It was almost like I want to do something really bad to him, but I didn't want to tell anybody. I didn't want to tell my girlfriend, my wife now at the time, because we were only in our relationship. So yeah, so I came back then. I came back here, and life went on. So my goal was always wanted to have a business here, and I think part of it is I wanted to continue blocking all these out, and become successful. And I didn't want to. I guess I didn't. See the thing, Gloria. Like, I didn't know if I didn't want to deal with it, or I just want to block it all out and don't want to remember at the time.
So does it matter which of those it is or it was? Does it matter that you didn't want to remember, or does it matter that you chose not to so that you could function?
Yeah. So I think I wish that someone, like, that I remember at that time and actually deal with it earlier rather than later. Do you get what I mean? Like, and I think that's why we actually doing this work now, is to putting that, we want to catch it earlier rather than later, because I wasted, so from 2008, that time, I was starting to get into, I knew when he came, there's something's not right there, but I was blocking it out, moving on with life. So and I wanted to have that business. So I had, me and my wife had a business up in Auckland. We had a gym, and I thought I was going to become successful, and everything is just going to be okay at the time. But during that time in 2017, so 2016, me and my wife actually had a fight. Like, we had things didn't go too well, and my wife actually sat down with me at the end of 2016 and said to me, if something happened, if I don't know what's going on, it's the first time like my wife actually swore at me. I don't know what that if's going on, but can you please sort it out? So from that time, my thinking, wow. And she said, it's hurting me, it's hurting our kids, it's hurting the business. I don't know what's going on. But if you can say it, if it's us, if you want to walk away, and at least that you let us know, because it is hurting us. Mm-hmm. And that, I wouldn't talk. I was very silent person. When I get angry, I don't talk. I'll slam the door or drive off, during that time. So my thinking of sorting it out is to go back home and dealt to him. It was the first time that I actually had the plan. Okay, my way of dealing with it, I'm going back home and deal to him. Yeah.
So when you say deal to him, just a trigger warning here, survivors watching. I don't know what's going to
Yeah.
come now, but when you say deal to him, what are we talking? Are we talking you're going to beat him up? Are you going to?
Yeah, so thank you for reminding me that of this is a trigger for our survivors or somebody that haven't shared or thinking about these things, because my thinking and my plan, I was planning to go back home and shoot him.
Yes.
So my uncle in Samoa, it's my dad's brothers. When I lived with them, he's got a gun. My thinking in my head, I'll plan, no, I won't tell anybody. I won't tell my wife. I won't tell anybody. I will ask my business partner to pay for my airfare. I'll flew over there, do something, shoot him, do something to him, and then either disappear or I don't know what's going to happen from there. But that was my way of dealing with, is I'll end it all, then maybe disappear. But during that time, I I thought about my girls and our foster boys, and I said to the beginning, I never had a dad. I grew up without a dad, and this has happened all in 2017, in the beginning of 2017. So I thought, if I go back and do this to him, it's my kid's gonna grow up without me. I might end up in jail, or even might end up, excuse, but I might end up kill myself.
Yes.
So my wife is going to be a struggle. The people that I was supporting and help in the fitness industry, like just helping them, they'll be wondering what's going on with him. There were so many things. My family, my village. There were so many things that come up to me when I actually sat down and actually thought about my plan and my goals. So I had from that time, I had two options. I was too scared to tell my wife, because I was wondering, if I tell her, she's gonna turn around and say to me, I don't want anything to do with you. Or the other thing is, if I go back, then I'll lose them anyway.
Yeah.
Then I make the decision that I'll accept the fact that if I tell my wife and she say, I don't want anything to do with you, then at least I can do something after. Depends what the outcome.
So can I just check? Had you actually told your wife about the abuse at this point?
No.
Oh, so that means you would have had to tell her why you wanted to shoot this man.
Yeah.
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 So yeah, that would have been wow.
Yeah. So yeah, from being, I decided to, okay, I'm gonna forget about whatever the outcomes, or maybe losing them, but at least I'm gonna reach out to her. So I told her, there was something happened to me in Samoa that it's been really troubling me since we had our girls, and I thought I could hold it, but I can't do it anymore. I need some help. And then she said to me, "Oh, what happened?" I said, "I was sexually abused when I was young." And I had the thought of going back home and tell to him, but I thought about, I'll lose you guys, I lose my family, and I didn't want my girls to go through what I went through, you know. Um, our boys, the foster boys that we role model to them, they'll be wondering what's going on. So I said to her, I need some help. And the
Oh.
best thing that happened is she gave me a hug. She gave me a hug, and she said to me, I love you, and we're going to get some support for you. We can do this together. It was the, you talk about the responding, the person that you first disclose to, and knowing that you feel important, and you finally, somebody finally heard you. It's the first time I felt like there's something fell off my shoulder. Like, it was like, wow, I could say I can breathe, and we did. We went, she took me down to the doctor. He referred me to a psychologist, and yeah, I think the only challenge that I found with the psychologist with the ACC and the system was, I was only allowed 4 sessions because it happened in Samoa.
Ah.
So it was really challenging that time. But yeah, I went through the psychologist. I went through counselling 4 sessions again because they couldn't fund me any more ACC.
Oh.
Same thing. So apart from that, the support of my wife, and lots of research and reading,
has made such a difference. But
yeah.
as you're talking, I'm thinking how powerful it is, and survivors watching, isn't that beautiful that Uipo shared it with the person closest to him, his amazing wife, and she gave the response we would all love
Yeah.
to have
Yeah.
had. So Uipo, we're going to leave it there. This is the end of part 1. Please don't go anywhere. Audience, once again, we have a survivor who, as he talks, we can feel into that, the absolute, the absolute rightness in a way of wanting to deal to this perpetrator, because that is what happens in us. What happened was so wrong, and as Uipo said, the desire there to deal to him is completely understand, and I know you guys have your own stories with that as well. But don't miss part 2. We're going to come back and do that. And the other thing is, of course, beautiful ones, I see you, I stand beside you, and I believe you.